once lived an economically disadvantaged tinker and his wife.
What in tarnation did she just say?
She said Oh, it doesn't matter.
Their lack of material accomplishment is not meant to imply that all tinkers are economically marginalized, or that if they are, they deserve to be so. The tinker and his wife lived in a little hovel next to the estate of a local witch. From their window, they could see the witch's meticulously kept garden.
Oh, my garden and my squash and my cucumbers and my lettuce, my tomatoes.
A nauseating attempt to impose human notions of order onto nature.
My wife, she is pregnant. And she really wants that lettuce that witch grows.
I really want the lettuce.
And, well, Mama said stealing is for the devil. But Mama also said, happy wife is a happy life. I'm climbing that there fence to get some of that there lettuce.
Alas, his plan did not work out so smoothly.
Get back here!
Now, keep in mind, this witch is what you would call a very kindness-impaired one. Not to imply that all, or even some witches are that way, nor to deny this particular one's right to be so. We have all heard our fair share of fairy tales.
We've all heard our fair share of politics in last year.
But what happens when an immovable object and an unstoppable force collides?
We don't know. But we do know. An example of this would be...
Politically Correct Fairy Tales by James Finn Garner.
Anyways, back to the story.
Where are you going with my lettuce?
Well, Miss, what do you call yourself?
I call myself Darth Witch.
Darth Witch! Oh no! Debating whether the concept of ownership is usable, the lettuce technically belongs to anybody who's hungry, like my wife and I. Or has that there nerve to take that there lettuce?
Nerve? Well, you can call it nerve indeed.
Well, it's my wife's fault, but I'm going to take the blame for her because she is pregnant, and she really wanted your lettuce. And, well, Mama said single-parent household is acceptable, but two-parent, much more stable. Don't deprive my child of that, please.
A few months later, and after agonizing pain that a man will never, and I mean never, be able to appreciate.
Mama said breathe, honey. Just breathe.
Shut up! This is all your fault!
You can do it. Breathe.
Hey, Mama.
She even talks like me, too.
Why?
I think we should name her Olga after Mama.
I think we have enough Mama for one lifetime. We're naming her Rapunzel after a type of lettuce.
Not long after the birth, the witch came knocking on their door.
Mama, is that you? Come on in.
You give her to me. I spared the life of that tinker, even though you stole from me.
Their powerless stand in life had always left them open to exploitation, and this time they felt they had no alternative. They gave Rapunzel to the witch, who sped away.
Give her to me. Here you go. Oh, I shall take this pretty woman deep into space and imprison her, and she shall grow to womanhood there, and I shall teach her how to sing.
Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me free woman.
One day, a young prince rode near the tower and heard Rapunzel singing.
My horse is stereo, bees for you, so listen close.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I might climb your golden stair.
The hair cascaded from the window, and the prince climbed up. When he saw Rapunzel, he was simply awestruck.
Oh, my dear maiden, your greater than average physical attraction led me to think, in a typically locust way, that your personality would be beautiful as well.
Now, this is not to imply that all princes judge people solely upon appearance, nor to deny this particular prince's right to make such assumptions. Please see the disclaimers in the paragraph above.
I dare say, I don't know what to think of this. I've never seen a man up close before. You're large and hairy in the face, and you possess a strong, musky odor, but for reasons I cannot explain, I find you somewhat attractive.
Stop right there!
It's Earth Witch. How did you get here?
Well, I had an extra set of hair made in case of emergency, and this certainly looks like one. You listen to me, Prince. I built this tower to keep her away from men like you, and she'll stay here and sing for no one but me, for I'm the only one who truly loves her.
We can talk about codependent problems later. But first, let me hear Rapunzel, is it? Let me hear Rapunzel sing.
No! I am going to throw you from the tower!
Oh my God. Perhaps you should reconsider. I have some friends in the recording industry who would be very interested in rap unsoul.
Freaky fresh now word.
I knew it! You want to take her from me!
No, I want to continue her training, to nurture her as her manager. Then, when the time is right, we unleash her talent to the world and rake in all the cash.
Oh, gosh. We can be rich. Rapunzel could be a star. I know, we can have our very own life like Rapunzel doll.
Freaky fresh now word.
With their very own mini stereo.
Splendid idea.
My suspicions has turned into revulsions. For years, my hair has been exploited for the transportation needs of others. And now this surreptitiousness does not depend solely on gender. Whatever that means.
Rapunzel later cut off for her for a fundraising auction. She sang for free in coffee houses and art galleries for the rest of her days, always refusing to exploit money for other people's desires to hear her sing.
This girl is on fire!
I guess whatever works for her.
There once lived a young woman named Cinderella, whose natural birth mother had died when Cinderella was but a child.
Cinderella's father married a widow with 2 daughters. Her mother's step treated her very cruelly.
Get me some Twinkies now.
Girl, them extinct.
And her sister's step made her work very hard.
Work for some unpaid labor. What you?
One day an invitation arrived at their house. The prince
Yo, what up, brother? Prince is in the house.
was celebrating his exploitation of the dispossessed and marginalized peasantry by throwing a fancy dress ball.
Cinderella's sisters of step were very excited to be invited to the palace.
The palace.
They were very excited, and she had to help her mother and sisters of step into their ball gowns, a formidable task.
Suck it in, suck it in.
I am sucking it in.
We'll suck it in more.
Oh, wait. Did you just call me plump?
Oh, no.
That was
no.
totally April figure joke.
Mm-hmm.
As evening fell, her mothers and sisters of step left Cinderella at home. She was sad, but she contented herself with her hip-hop iTunes collection.
Hey, physically attractive lady. Oh, for Gangnam Style.
Suddenly there was a flash of light,
Bam!
and in front of Cinderella stood a woman in loose-fitting clothing wearing a hat.
Hello, Cinderella. I'm your fairy god person, or individual deity proxy if you prefer. So, you want to go to the ball,
Yes.
and squeeze yourself into some tight-fitting dress that will ruin your circulation?
Yeah.
And jam your feet in some high-heeled shoes that will ruin your bone structure?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, whatever.
And she enveloped Cinderella into a beautiful, bright light and whisked her away to the palace.
Zippity, boppity, boom!
There were many carriages lined outside the palace that night. Apparently, no one had ever thought of carpooling. But soon, Cinderella had arrived.
Cinderella was dressed in a clinging gown of woven silk stolen from unsuspecting silkworms. Her hair was fashioned with pearls planted from hard-working, defenseless oysters.
Every head in the ballroom turned as Cinderella entered.
Oh my deity!
Rebecca, look at her posterior. It is just so grand.
The men stared at and lusted after this woman who had captured perfectly their Barbie doll ideas of feminine beauty.
The women trained at an early age to despise their own bodies looked at Cinderella with envy and spite.
Cinderella soon caught the roving eye of the prince.
Now here's a woman that I could make my princess and impregnate with all perfect genes, and thus make myself the envy of every other prince for miles around. And she's blonde too, yo. She's blonde too.
The prince began to cross the ballroom towards his intended prey. So did every other male that was under 70 and not serving drinks.
The prince was quickly seized by every other sex-crazed male.
Oh, too.
The noise grew so loud that no one heard the clock in the background chime midnight.
When the bell rang, Cinderella's beautiful gown and slippers turned again into her peasant rags, and her mother and sisters of step recognized her immediately, but kept quiet to avoid embarrassment.
Kill me now if you want, sisters, but at least I'll die in comfort.
The women around her grew envious, but instead of exacting vengeance on her, they stripped off their corsets, shoes, and every other confining garment.
Free at last, God Almighty, we're free at last.
They danced and jumped and screeched in sheer joy, comfortable at last, in their shifts and bare feet.
Had the men looked up from their macho dance of destruction, they would have seen many desirable women, but never ceased punching, pounding, and kicking each other. To the last man, they were dead. And everyone lived happily ever after?
Do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do.
There once was a younger person named Red Riding Hood who lived with her mother on the edge of a large wood.
Hi, squirrel!
Riding Hood.
One day her mother asked her to take a basket of fresh fruit and mineral water to her grandmother's house. Not because this was a woman's job, mind you, but because the deed was generous and evoked a feeling of community. Furthermore, her grandmother was not sick, but was rather in full physical and mental health, and was completely capable of taking care of herself as a mature adult.
All right, Mother. I want to see grandmother. So excited.
Are you sure you don't want someone to accompany you? You know how many people believe that the forest is an evil and foreboding place.
Mother, I'm confident in my own budding
No,
sexuality. Such obvious Freudian imagery does not intimidate me.
On her way to grandmother's house, Red Riding Hood was accosted by a wolf.
What's in your basket?
Some healthful snacks for my grandmother, who is certainly capable of taking care of herself as a mature adult.
You know, my dear, isn't it safe for a little girl like you to walk through these woods alone?
I find your sexist remark offensive in the extreme, but I will ignore it, because your traditional status as an outcast in society, the stress of which has caused you of your entire world view. Now, if you'll excuse me, must stay away. Bye, 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 bye,
Red Riding Hood walked along the main path, but because his status outside society had freedom from slavish adherence to linear, Western-style thought, the wolf knew a quicker route to grandmother's house. He burst into the house and ate Grandma! Ah! An entirely valid course of action for a carnivore such as himself. Then, unhampered by rigid, traditionalist notions of what was masculine or feminine, he put on grandmother's nightclothes and crawled into the bed.
I wear your grandma's clothes. I look incredible.
Grandmother, I purchased fat, free, sodium-free snacks. This is a little unit role of a wise and nurturing matriarch.
Come closer, child, that I might see you.
Oh, I forgot. You're as optically challenged as a bat. Grandmother, big eyes you have.
They have seen much and forgiven much, my dear.
Grandmother, what a big nose you have. Only relatively, of course, and certainly attractive in its own way.
It has smelled much and forgiven much, my dear.
Grandmother, you have really big teeth.
I am happy with who I am and what I am.
The wolf grabbed Red Riding Hood in his claws, ready to devour her. Red Riding Hood screamed, not out of alarm of the wolf's apparent tendency towards cross-dressing, but more so of his invasion of her personal space. Her scream was heard by a wood chopper.
Hey, I'm a long fuel technician.
Okay, well, their screams were heard by a long field technician, who burst into the cottage to intervene. But as he raised his axe, both Red Riding Hood and the wolf stopped and stared.
And just what do you think you're doing? Bursting in here like a Neanderthal. Trusting your weapon you're thinking, for you? What you brain for? Durr. You're being sexist and speciesist. How dare you assume that women and wolves can't solve their own problems without a man's help?
Now, when she heard Red Riding Hood's impassioned speech, Grandma jumped out of the wolf's mouth,
I may be old, but these bones are tough as nails.
seized the wood chopper's
I'm a
axe.
long fuel technician.
Oh dear. Well, anyways, after this whole ordeal, Red Riding Hood, grandmother, and the wolf felt a certain commonality of purpose. They decided to set up an alternative household based on mutual respect and cooperation, and they lived together in the woods. Happily ever after?